For those who believe the Bible, King David was the ruler of ancient Israel. But for a long time, skeptics said there was no proof he existed. Now CBN's new documentary, Written in Stone, House of David, examines how archaeologists are finding more and more evidence of that biblical kingdom. Take a look at how modern biblical archaeology in the Holy Land began in this preview of CBN's new film.
In the summer of 1864, one of the wealthiest women in England decided to take a trip. Baroness Angela Burdett Coutts belonged to one of the world's oldest banking families. She was a philanthropist to whom Charles Dickens dedicated one of his novels, a London socialite whose circle included the royal family. And without realizing it, she was about to introduce the world to the archaeology of the Bible. When the Baroness went on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, she was appalled by the widespread disease and lack of good drinking water in Jerusalem. So she donated 500 pounds to survey the city for clean water. The Water Relief Fund became a popular cause with the British people. So its patrons expanded their survey to study the archaeology of the Holy Land, and the Palestine Exploration Fund was born. Holy Land fever swept through Britain, and the Baroness even convinced her friend Vicky to sponsor the new organization. Vicky was none other than Queen Victoria, and in 1867, the Queen sent a team to Jerusalem to excavate the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and the Temple Mount. Leading the team was an army engineer named Charles Warren, who would later become famous as the London Police Commissioner who led the hunt for the notorious serial killer, Jack the Ripper. Warren stayed in Palestine for 3 years, and his extraordinary discoveries made headlines around the world. After being buried for nearly 1,800 years, the Jerusalem of the Bible was about to be rediscovered.
Charles Warren discovered the city of David, or the ancient Jerusalem, in 1867. It was exactly 100 years before her reunification in 1967. Up to 150 years ago, nobody saw her, nobody even knew where she was until Charles Warren made the first rediscovery. And suddenly, Isaiah that prophesied, Hitna arim me'afar kumi, shake off your dust, arise, take your rightful place, O Jerusalem. Suddenly this is happening. The first time when we read about Jerusalem, it's in Genesis, when Abram meets with Melchizedek right here in the valley of Kidron. And Melchizedek is the king of Salem, or as we say in Hebrew, Shalem. And they meet here and they break bread together and they drink wine. And also it's the first time that we read that a tithe is being given to Jerusalem by Abram. Abram, the man in whom all the nations will be blessed.
In Jerusalem, little is left from the time of the patriarchs. But less than 20 miles away, in the West Bank city of Hebron, these Bronze Age remains show glimpses of the city where Abraham pitched his tents. Nearby is the Cave of the Patriarchs, the site of biblical Machpelah. As far back as 1000 BC, this location was recognized as the place where Abraham purchased a cave to bury his wife Sarah. The monument, built by King Herod, is said to house the tombs of the patriarchs and their wives. And although Abraham is the father of the nation of Israel, the archaeology of the Bible truly begins nearly 800 years later with one of his descendants, Israel's most famous king,